My in-laws jetted off to Hawaii, forcing me to stay and look after my Sills-mute, bedbound daughter. Minutes after they left, she stood up and said, "They're after my $4 million. Please help." When they returned, can you imagine walking into your kitchen expecting to make dinner, only to find a child you've been told is mute and paralyzed standing there, perfectly fine, and whispering that her family wants her $4 million? Because that's exactly what happened to me, and it shattered my world. You know, I've always loved teaching. My classroom? That's my sanctuary, my happy place where I feel like I'm making a real difference. But stepping into my in-laws' world, that was a whole different story. My husband, Michael, he's a good man, truly, kind-hearted, smart, loving. But when it came to his family, he just crumbled. His one fatal flaw was this crippling need to avoid conflict, especially with them. The Montgomerys were old money, and they made sure you never forgot it. His dad, Robert, was pure intimidation, built his fortune in real estate, ruled his family with the same iron fist he used in boardrooms. Tall, imposing, always in tailored suits. He had a way of shrinking you with just a glance. His mom, Eleanor, was his perfect counterpart. Cold, calculating, obsessed with appearances. Her perfectly coiffed blonde hair never moved, much like her frozen facial expressions. She'd mastered the art of delivering a cutting remark disguised as a compliment. "You know, Jessica, dear, that outfit is so brave of you. I could never pull off something so casual at a formal dinner." Yeah. And then there was Amanda, Michael's older sister, Lily's mom. 35, never held a real job, living off her trust fund. She had Lily in her 20s with a man who conveniently disappeared. Amanda was beautiful, entitled, irresponsible. She treated her own daughter more like an inconvenient accessory than a child. James, Michael's older brother, was a successful corporate lawyer, always following their father's every command. He rarely spoke to me directly, as if acknowledging my existence might somehow diminish his standing. And Michael? He was stuck in the middle, constantly seeking their approval while trying to keep peace with me. More often than not, I felt like I was losing the tug-of-war for his loyalty. From the moment I married into the Montgomery family, I was treated like an outsider. My middle-class background, my career in public education, viewed with barely concealed disdain. Nothing I did was ever good enough. My cooking was quaint. My home decor simple. My career choice noble, but impractical. Every family gathering was an exercise in restraint for me, biting my tongue, just to keep the peace for Michael's sake. And then there was Lily, Amanda's daughter. Everyone said Lily was special needs, born with a severe neurological disorder that left her unable to speak or move independently. She required round-the-clock care, which Amanda largely delegated to a rotating staff of nurses. I'd seen Lily at family gatherings, always in her specialized wheelchair, staring blankly ahead, never responding. But something in her eyes always snagged at me. A glimmer of intelligence. I tried to dismiss it, tell myself I wasn't a medical professional, and the family had consulted the best specialists. But that feeling, it just wouldn't go away. So, the call comes 3 days before their Hawaiian departure. From Eleanor. Not a request, mind you, but an order. "Jessica, darling, we need you to watch Lily while we're away." "Need me?" As in, we've decided. "What about her regular nurses?" I asked, already knowing I was being manipulated. "Oh, we had to let them go. Such unreliable people. Besides, family should take care of family." Michael already agreed. Of course, he did. Without a word to me. When I confronted Michael, he gave me that apologetic look he'd perfected. "Babe, they really need our help. It's just for 2 weeks. We can stay in the guest suite. It's practically our own apartment." "What about my job?" I shot back. "I can't just abandon my students mid-semester." And then came the Montgomery hammer. "It's spring break next week, and Mom said she'll have Dad call the superintendent for the 2nd week. You know, he's a major donor to the school district." And there it was. The Montgomery way. Rules didn't apply to them. Obligations could be rearranged with a phone call and a checkbook. I hated it. But what could I do? Refusing would mean a family war Michael was too afraid to fight. I reluctantly agreed, not because I wanted to, but because I felt I had no choice. The day before their departure, we moved into the sprawling Montgomery mansion. Amanda, Lily's mom, gave me this crash course, if you can even call it that. She barely looked at her own daughter. She needs her medication 3 times a day. Don't miss a dose or she gets difficult. Difficult how? I asked. Just trust me. Keep her on schedule. She handed me a thick binder. Everything's in here. Feeding, meds, emergency contacts, not that she'll need a doctor. It's all just for show. That last comment struck me as so odd, so cold. But before I could question it, Robert, my father-in-law, delivered his own threat. Jessica, understand this is a massive responsibility. We're trusting you with our precious granddaughter. Don't disappoint us. The hairs on my arms stood up. Their departure the next morning was a hurricane, a blur of designer luggage and shouted instructions. Not one, not a single one of them, bothered to say a proper goodbye to Lily, who sat in her wheelchair by the window, supposedly unaware of the chaos. Michael gave me a quick, almost apologetic hug. I'm sorry, babe. Dad insisted I come along for some business meetings. Yeah, right? You'll be okay, right? I just nodded, feeling utterly abandoned and resentful, watching them drive away, leaving me alone with a child I barely knew how to care for. In that massive, empty foyer, looking at Lily's vacant stare, I remember thinking, well, Lily, it's just you and me now. If only I knew how profoundly true that would become in mere minutes. I wheeled Lily into the enormous living room, set her up with a kids' show as the care instructions suggested. Honestly, I felt a little ridiculous talking to her, explaining what I was doing, asking if she needed anything. But I couldn't bring myself to treat her like a piece of furniture. It was almost time for her evening meds, so I headed to the kitchen to prepare her liquid diet and the array of pills. The Montgomery kitchen was a perfect chef's dream, all stainless steel, marble, high-end appliances, probably rarely used since they employed a full-time cook who was also conveniently on vacation. Stirring my simple pasta sauce, I felt this prickling sensation, like eyes on my back. I spun around, expecting to see a housekeeper I hadn't been introduced to, and there she was, standing in the doorway. Lily, not in her wheelchair, standing on her own 2 feet. Her posture was a little unsteady, her hand braced against the door frame, but she was upright. My jaw probably hit the marble. Lily, I breathed, barely a whisper, unable to believe what I was seeing. And then she spoke. Her voice soft, clear, with the slight lisp of a normal 8-year-old. They want my $4 million. Please help me. The world just tilted. The room seemed to spin. I gripped the counter, certain I was hallucinating. The supposedly mute, paralyzed child had just walked into my kitchen and spoken a perfectly coherent sentence. Lily, I stammered, my voice barely audible. You can talk? You can walk. She just nodded, her eyes, those intelligent eyes I had noticed before, now wide, full of fear. And hope? Please, she whispered, don't tell them I talked to you. They'll hurt me again. My stomach dropped. I abandoned the stove, slowly approached her, kneeling to her level, trying not to frighten her. Lily, I don't understand. Who will hurt you? What $4 million? Her little face contorted with worry. My mom and grandpa and grandma, they pretend I'm sick so they can take my money when I'm 18. My brain was scrambling, trying to make sense of this monstrous revelation. An entire family fabricating a child's disability? It seemed too evil to be real. Come sit down, I said gently, guiding her to a kitchen chair. Can you tell me more? Over the next hour, my pasta sauce burning forgotten on the stove, Lily spilled her story. Her maternal grandparents, the Blackwells, whom the Montgomerys despised, had left her a trust fund of $4 million when they died in a car accident when she was 3. The money was to be held until she turned 18, with her mother as trustee. Mommy started giving me medicine after Granny and Pops died, Lily explained, tears streaming down her face. It makes me feel sleepy and weak. When I tried not to take it, she would pinch me really hard or lock me in the dark closet. My heart shattered. They told everyone I was born sick, but I wasn't, she continued. I remember running and playing and talking before the medicine started. I felt physically ill as Lily described how she was forced to pretend she couldn't speak or move whenever anyone was around. How she was threatened and punished if she showed any signs of normalcy. How the family openly discussed their plans to have her declared mentally incompetent when she turned 18 so they could control her inheritance indefinitely. How do you know about the money? I asked, struggling to process everything. Lily's face showed a flash of defiant pride. I taught myself to read when no one was watching. Mommy leaves papers around, and I look at them when she's out. I have a diary where I write everything down. She led me, still somewhat unsteadily, to her room. It was a sterile, hospital-like space that broke my heart. From beneath her mattress, she pulled out a small notebook and several folded documents she'd apparently stolen from Amanda's office. The diary was filled with the neat handwriting of a child who had taught herself literacy in secret. The entries meticulously documented the family's conversations about her money, the medications they forced on her, and the threats they used to keep her silent. The documents included a copy of the trust agreement from her maternal grandparents, bank statements showing the significant balance, and, troublingly, what appeared to be draft documents for a psychiatric evaluation that would declare Lily incompetent. I sat on the edge of her bed, documents spread around us, feeling a mixture of horror, disbelief, and a white-hot rage building inside me. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked, my voice raw. "Why take this risk?" Lily's eyes filled with tears again. "Because you're nice. You talk to me like I'm real." She hesitated. "They've never left me with just one person before. Always nurses who believe them. I was hoping maybe you could help me." In that moment, looking at this brave, broken little girl who had endured years of unimaginable abuse and isolation for the sake of money, my path became crystal clear. "I will help you, Lily," I said, the words a fierce, unshakable vow. "I promise." The next morning, I faced an agonizing choice. Give her the medication as instructed, continue the abuse? Or trust my gut, trust her story, and withhold it? The potential consequences weighed heavily. If she truly needed the meds and I withheld them, I could be putting her health at risk. But if her story was true, and my gut screamed that it was, I would be perpetuating her torture. I decided to trust my instincts. I made a show of preparing her morning dose, but my hands were shaking as I poured those crushed pills straight down the sink drain. I gave her the nutritional shake without them, watching anxiously for any adverse effects. By midday, the transformation was unbelievable. Lily became more alert, her movements more coordinated. Her speech, which had been somewhat slurred the previous evening, was now clear, more animated. She seemed like a completely normal 8-year-old girl, albeit one who had been isolated from normal childhood experiences. "I feel better when I don't take the medicine," she confided, her eyes brighter than I'd ever seen them. "My head doesn't feel fuzzy anymore." Our mission began. Together, we started a methodical search of the house for more evidence. Lily, my tiny, brave co-conspirator, knew the mansion better than anyone, having spent countless hours observing from her wheelchair while everyone thought she was oblivious. "Mommy keeps important papers in her office," Lily directed me. "The key is under the plant pot." Sure enough, there it was. Inside the locked filing cabinet, a goldmine of damning evidence. Financial documents detailed the trust from Lily's maternal grandparents, the Blackwells, confirming the $4 million. I also found legal correspondence about the terms of the trust, which named Amanda as trustee until Lily turned 18 or was deemed mentally capable. Most disturbing was a folder labeled Lily's condition. Inside were medical records that had clearly been falsified. Prescription records for powerful sedatives and muscle relaxants, medications that would indeed make an active child appear listless and immobile. "Look," Lily pointed to a document I had overlooked. It was her original birth record and early pediatric reports. They showed a perfectly healthy baby with normal developmental milestones up to age 3. Then, suddenly, the reports changed dramatically, documenting a rapid regression that coincided exactly with the death of her maternal grandparents. My blood ran cold. Then Lily pointed to nearly invisible, small devices in the upper corners of her room. They watch me sometimes, she whispered, to make sure I'm being good. I recognized them immediately as surveillance cameras. The family was monitoring this child like a prisoner. As we continued our investigation, Lily shared chilling details of her daily reality. How Amanda would pinch her or twist her arm when no one was looking if Lily showed any signs of awareness. How Robert would enter her room late at night, checking on her and graphically reminding her what would happen if she ever revealed their secret. How Eleanor would parade her at charity events as the family's special burden to generate sympathy and donations, which I now suspected went nowhere near charitable causes. Grandma Eleanor says I'm useful for making people feel sorry for them, Lily said with a wisdom beyond her years. She says it's the only way I can contribute to the family. My phone rang, interrupting our investigation. It was Eleanor, checking in as promised. I forced myself to put on my most pleasant voice, assuring her everything was fine, while Lily sat silently beside me, her eyes wide with fear. Remember, Jessica, consistency is key with Lily's care, Eleanor reminded me. Any deviation from her routine could be problematic. Of course, I replied, my free hand clenching into a fist. Everything's going exactly according to schedule. After the call ended, we continued our search on Amanda's computer, which Lily knew the password to. It's always her birthday, she explained. We found emails between family members discussing the trust fund, complaints about the burden of maintaining Lily's supposed condition, and most damning of all, plans for having her declared legally incompetent when she turned 18. One email from Robert to Amanda made my stomach turn. The amendments to the trust are proceeding. Judge Wilson owes me a favor. Once the paperwork is finalized, even if the girl somehow manages to convince someone of her competence, the money remains under family control. Maintain the current protocols until then. We also found legal documents showing recent amendments to the trust that hadn't been approved by the court yet, designed to give Amanda continued control over the funds. In Amanda's bedroom, behind an expensive painting, we discovered a wall safe. Lily didn't know the combination, but I had a hunch. I tried Amanda's birthday. Nothing. Then I tried Lily's birth date, and the safe swung open. Inside were more financial documents, jewelry, and a USB drive. When we plugged the drive into Amanda's computer, we found medical records showing that Lily had been completely healthy at birth. There were also videos of Lily as a toddler, running, laughing, and talking. Concrete evidence that she had developed normally before her grandparents' death. By evening, I had compiled overwhelming evidence of the Montgomery family's elaborate, sinister scheme. But I was still missing one crucial piece of information. Why go to such insane lengths? $4 million was certainly a lot of money, but the Montgomerys were already wealthy. There had to be more to the story. And there was. The answer came when Lily showed me a hidden compartment in her wheelchair where she had stashed various papers she'd collected over the years. Among them was a letter from her maternal grandfather to Lily, to be given to her on her 18th birthday. It had been mistakenly included in some papers Amanda had received after their death. The letter revealed the real prize. The $4 million was just the beginning. The Blackwells had been wildly successful oil investors who had sold their company for a fortune. The bulk of their estate, nearly $50 million, was held in a separate trust that would transfer to Lily when she turned 25, but only if she was deemed mentally competent and had control of the initial trust. The Montgomerys hadn't just been after $4 million. They were playing a twisted, decades-long game for a fortune more than 10 times that amount. Tucking Lily into bed that night, in a guest room far from their cameras, a fierce, protective rage ignited inside me. This brave little girl had endured years of unimaginable abuse and isolation, and I was now her only hope for freedom. "We're going to fix this, Lily," I vowed, smoothing her hair. "You are not alone anymore." The next morning, Lily and I sat at the kitchen table, away from any potential surveillance cameras, planning our next steps. I needed to understand exactly what she wanted. "If you could have anything, Lily, what would it be?" I asked gently. Her answer was immediate and heartbreaking in its simplicity. "I want to go to real school. I want friends. I want to not be afraid all the time." She paused, her small fingers tracing patterns on the table. And I want my mom to love me for real, not just pretend in front of people. The sincerity in her voice nearly broke me. Despite everything her family had done to her, she still longed for their genuine affection. It was a painful reminder that she was, after all, just a child who wanted what every child deserves: love and security. I knew we needed professional help. After ensuring Lily was comfortably settled with a book, she was a voracious reader. Despite having taught herself, I stepped onto the patio to make a private phone call to my best friend, Lauren Bishop. Lauren was a family lawyer specializing in child advocacy. We had been friends since college, and she was one of the few people I trusted implicitly. I explained the situation as concisely as possible, aware that I was making extraordinary claims. Jesus, Jess, Lauren breathed after I finished. I don't even have words. If what you're saying is true, this is one of the most horrific cases of child abuse and financial exploitation I've ever heard. It's true, Lauren, I insisted. I've seen the evidence. This little girl has been imprisoned in her own body for 5 years so her family can steal her inheritance. You need to document everything, Lauren advised. Photos, copies of documents, recordings if possible, but be careful. If they catch you, they could spin this against you. They have resources and connections. She promised to research the legal implications and prepare for potential emergency proceedings, but warned me against confronting the family directly without proper preparation. These people sound dangerous, Jess. They've maintained this deception for years. They won't hesitate to destroy you if you threaten their scheme. After my call with Lauren, I returned to find Lily looking anxious. Are you going to send me back to them? She asked, her voice small. I knelt beside her chair. Absolutely not. We're going to make sure you're safe and that nobody ever hurts you again. Over the next few days, we established a covert routine. During the day, we gathered and secured even more evidence. I photographed documents, copied files onto a secure cloud account Lauren had set up, and helped Lily document her experiences in a journal that could potentially be used in court. I discovered a disturbing amount of surveillance throughout the house, cameras in Lily's room, the hallways, even some common areas. However, they didn't cover everywhere, and we were careful to conduct our most sensitive conversations in camera-blind spots Lauren helped me identify. We also researched child abuse laws, inheritance regulations, and trustee responsibilities. What the Montgomerys were doing violated numerous state and federal laws. They weren't just being cruel. They were committing serious crimes. Every evening, the family would call to check in. I maintained the charade, reporting that Lily was following her usual routines and taking her medication. Meanwhile, Lily continued to improve physically and mentally without the sedatives. Her movements became more coordinated, her speech clearer, and her personality blossomed. She was funny, curious, and remarkably resilient given her circumstances. The question of whether to tell Michael weighed heavily on me. He was my husband, and I wanted to believe he wasn't part of this conspiracy. But his blind loyalty to his family made me hesitant to trust him fully. 5 days into our time alone, I decided to test the waters. I called Michael while Lily was napping. Hey, how's Hawaii? I asked, keeping my tone light. Amazing. Dad's meetings finished early, so we've been hitting the beach. How are things with Lily? I took a deep breath. Actually, I've noticed some strange things. Her medical regimen seems extreme, and I found some documents about her trust fund that seem concerning. There was a pause before Michael responded, his voice noticeably cooler. Jess, you know nothing about Lily's condition. The medication is necessary, and her financial arrangements are none of your business. But Michael, don't you think, look, Amanda knows what's best for her daughter. Just follow the instructions and stop snooping through family papers. That's totally inappropriate. His dismissive response confirmed my worst fears. Whether Michael was actively complicit or willfully ignorant, he couldn't be trusted to help Lily. You're right, I lied. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to do my best here. After hanging up, I sat in silence, my resolve hardening. I was on my own in this. Me and an 8-year-old girl against a powerful, wealthy family willing to destroy a child's life for money. During our week together, I also focused on helping Lily experience normal childhood activities that had been denied to her. We baked cookies, played board games, and watched movies appropriate for her age, rather than the baby programs her family forced on her. I taught her simple card games and was amazed at how quickly she learned. "No one's ever played with me before," she admitted during a game of Go Fish. "They just put me in front of the TV." My heart broke, then healed a little. I also worked with Lily on basic self-advocacy skills and prepared her for possible interviews with authorities. We practiced how she might answer questions about her treatment and the deception she had been forced to participate in. "Remember, you've done nothing wrong," I emphasized. "The adults who were supposed to protect you failed. None of this is your fault." Lauren provided guidance on preparing for the family's return. We secured copies of all evidence in multiple locations, including with Lauren herself. We developed a code phrase Lily could use if she felt unsafe, and I programmed emergency numbers into a small, prepaid phone I purchased and hid in her room. The night before the family was scheduled to return, Lily and I finalized our preparations. The evidence was overwhelming. Medical records showing a healthy child until age 3. Falsified subsequent records. Financial documents revealing the trust manipulation. Emails discussing the deception. And Lily's own testimony. As we sat in the kitchen eating ice cream, another simple pleasure Lily had been denied, she looked up at me with serious eyes. "What if they don't believe us? What if they make me go back to pretending?" I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "That's not going to happen. Too many people know the truth now. You're not alone anymore." What I didn't tell her was my fear that the Montgomerys' wealth and connections might still prevail, that justice wasn't always served, especially when facing opponents with unlimited resources. But I was determined to fight with everything I had. "Tomorrow will be hard," I warned gently. "But remember how brave you've been all these years. Just a little longer, and then you'll be free." As I tucked her into bed, Lily wrapped her arms around my neck in a tight hug. "Thank you for believing me," she whispered. I held her close, my heart breaking for all the years of affection she had been denied. "Always," I promised. "Now get some sleep. Tomorrow is a big day." Little did I know that tomorrow would arrive much sooner than expected. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I was jolted awake by the unmistakable sound of the front door opening and voices in the foyer. The family wasn't supposed to return until the afternoon, but here they were, in the middle of the night, catching us completely off guard. I hurried to Lily's room and found her already awake, her eyes wide with terror. "They're back early," she whispered, trembling. "They sometimes do this to check if I'm being good when no one expects it." I helped her quickly return to her official bedroom with the monitoring equipment. "Remember our plan?" I whispered. "No matter what happens, I won't let them hurt you again." I had barely settled her when Amanda appeared in the doorway, still in travel clothes. "What are you doing in here?" she demanded. "I heard noises and came to check on Lily," I improvised. "You're back early." "Daddy's business concluded sooner than expected," she replied, her eyes narrowing suspiciously. "Has everything been going according to schedule?" "Of course," I lied smoothly. "Exactly as you instructed." Amanda pushed past me to approach Lily's bed. "Let me see her." I watched tensely as she examined her daughter, looking for any signs that might betray our deception. Lily played her part perfectly, remaining limp and expressionless as Amanda checked her. "Her medication?" Amanda asked sharply. "All given as prescribed," I assured her. "The logs are in the kitchen." Amanda seemed satisfied for the moment and left to join the rest of the family downstairs. I squeezed Lily's hand reassuringly before following. In the living room, the entire Montgomery clan was assembled despite the early hour. Robert and Eleanor sat regally on the sofa, while James paced by the fireplace. Michael stood awkwardly near the entrance, pointedly avoiding my eyes. "Jessica," Robert acknowledged me coldly. "I trust everything has been satisfactory in our absence." "Yes," I replied simply, deciding to let them reveal their hand first. Eleanor studied me with calculating eyes. Curious, Amanda checked the medication supply before we left. "It seems several doses are unaccounted for." My heart raced, but I kept my expression neutral. I followed the instructions precisely. Perhaps there was a miscount before you left. Perhaps, Eleanor conceded, though her tone suggested she believed nothing of the sort. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room until it was broken by a sound that caused everyone to freeze: footsteps on the stairs. All heads turned as Lily appeared in the doorway, standing perfectly straight, fully dressed and very much alert. "Hello, Mommy," she said clearly. "Hello, Grandma and Grandpa. I'm feeling much better now." The room erupted into chaos. Amanda screamed, lunging toward Lily. James cursed loudly. Eleanor pressed a hand to her chest in theatrical shock. Robert's face turned an alarming shade of red as he rounded on me. "What have you done?" he thundered. I moved quickly to stand between him and Lily. "I've done nothing except stop drugging an innocent child." Amanda grabbed Lily's arm roughly. "She needs her medication right now. She's having some kind of episode." "No," Lily cried, pulling away with a strength that surprised everyone. "I won't take it anymore. I know what you're doing. I know about my money." The room fell silent again. A stunned hush, even more profound than the first. "Jessica," Amanda said with forced calm, "my daughter is severely disabled and delusional. She needs immediate medical attention." "She's neither disabled nor delusional," I countered, my voice firm. "She's been pretending for years because you threatened and abused her." "I know everything, Amanda. About the trust fund, about the medications, about the surveillance. All of it." Robert stepped forward, his imposing frame towering over me. "You have no idea what you're talking about. This is a family matter that you have grossly misinterpreted." "I've misinterpreted nothing," I replied, standing my ground. "I've seen the documents, the emails, the videos of Lily as a healthy toddler before her grandparents died and left her millions." Eleanor attempted a different approach, her voice honey-sweet. "Jessica, dear, you've been under tremendous stress caring for a special needs child. It's understandable that you might be confused. Why don't you and Michael go home and rest while we handle Lily's care?" Michael finally spoke up, his voice uncertain. "Jess, maybe Mom's right. This is a lot. Let's go home and talk." "There's nothing to discuss, Michael," I said, looking him straight in the eye. "Your family has been abusing Lily for years, and I won't walk away and let it continue." Amanda suddenly changed tactics, her face contorting with rage. "You bitch. You've been snooping through my private papers. You have no right." She lunged for Lily again, this time with a prescription bottle she'd pulled from her purse. "You're taking your medicine right now, young lady. Take it now or you'll regret it." Lily struggled, crying out in pain as Amanda twisted her arm. "No, let me go." Something in me snapped. I shoved Amanda away from Lily with more force than I intended, sending her stumbling back against an antique table. "Don't you dare touch her," I shouted. Robert moved toward me with undisguised menace. "That's assault, James. Call the police. We'll have her arrested." "I wouldn't do that if I were you," I said, pulling out my phone. "Because the police and Child Protective Services have already been contacted." The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. Robert froze mid-step, his face a mask of calculation. "You're bluffing," he said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. "Am I?" I held up my phone, showing them the call history. "My friend Lauren Bishop? Perhaps you've heard of her. She's one of the top family lawyers in the state. She's been documenting everything we've discovered." Eleanor's perfectly maintained composure began to crack. "Robert, perhaps we should discuss this privately." Before he could respond, the doorbell rang, its chime echoing through the tense silence of the room. James moved to the window and cursed. "There's a police car in the driveway." The color drained from Robert's face. "Nobody say a word. I'll handle this." But when he opened the door, it wasn't just the police. Lauren stood there with two officers and a woman I recognized as a CPS caseworker. Lauren had delivered exactly as promised. "Mr. Montgomery," Lauren greeted him professionally. "I'm Lauren Bishop, attorney at law. I believe you've been expecting us." Robert attempted to regain control of the situation. "There's been a misunderstanding. My daughter-in-law has been interfering with my granddaughter's medical care. The child is severely disabled and needs immediate attention." Lauren remained unfazed. That's not what the evidence suggests, Mr. Montgomery. We have reason to believe Lily Montgomery has been subjected to long-term medical abuse and financial exploitation. The officers requested to speak with Lily, and despite Robert's objections, they insisted. As the situation unfolded, I watched Michael closely. His face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and then dawning horror as he began to piece together the truth. Our eyes met across the room, and I silently pleaded with him to choose the right side, to choose Lily. The critical moment came when Amanda, seeing her scheme unraveling, made one last desperate attempt. Lily has severe developmental issues, she insisted to the CPS worker. She hallucinates and makes up stories. She needs her medication immediately. The caseworker asked to see the medication, and Amanda handed over the bottle. The worker read the label carefully. This is a powerful sedative, Miss Montgomery. Not typically prescribed for children except in extreme cases. She is an extreme case. Amanda snapped. Then you won't mind if we have her evaluated by an independent physician, the caseworker replied calmly. Amanda's composure cracked. You can't take her. She's my daughter. A daughter you've been drugging and abusing for 5 years. I interjected. You shut up. Amanda screamed, lunging at me. One of the officers stepped between us, restraining her. In that moment of chaos, Michael moved to my side, finally breaking his paralysis. He looked at Lily, who was trembling but standing tall. Lily, he said gently, kneeling to her level. Can you tell me the truth? Has my family been hurting you? Lily looked at him with weary eyes, then at me. I nodded encouragingly. They make me take medicine that makes me sick, she said clearly. They tell me if I talk or move when people are around, they'll send me away forever. They want my money from my other grandparents. Michael's face crumpled. He turned to his family, who were all watching him with a mixture of rage and calculation. Is this true? He demanded. Have you been abusing this child for money? Robert attempted damage control. Son, you're being manipulated. Your wife has filled your head with lies. No more lies, Michael replied firmly. I want the truth. Eleanor tried next. Michael, darling, you know Lily's condition. We've all sacrificed so much to care for her. Then you won't mind proving her condition with independent doctors, Michael countered. The standoff might have continued, but Lauren stepped forward with a folder. I have copies of all the evidence Jessica has gathered. Financial records, emails, medical documentation, enough to launch a criminal investigation. She turned to Amanda. Including your emails discussing how to have Lily declared incompetent when she turns 18 to maintain control of her trust. Amanda's face drained of color. Those were private. They're evidence of conspiracy and child abuse, Lauren corrected. Robert, ever the businessman, quickly assessed the situation and changed tactics. He lowered his voice and addressed the officers. Perhaps we can discuss this matter privately. I'm sure we can come to an arrangement that benefits everyone. The implication was clear. He was offering a bribe. The lead officer's expression hardened. Mr. Montgomery, are you attempting to interfere with a police investigation? Robert backpedaled immediately. Of course not. I'm simply suggesting that this family matter could be resolved without unnecessary publicity. Child abuse is not a family matter, the officer replied coldly. It's a criminal offense. What happened next shocked everyone. Amanda, seeing no way out, broke down completely. It was Daddy's idea, she cried, pointing at Robert. He said Lily's inheritance could solve all our problems. The company was failing. We needed the capital. He said no one would question it if Lily had special needs. Amanda, shut up. Robert bellowed. But it was too late. He arranged everything. The doctors, the medications. I just did what he told me, she continued, tears streaming down her face. He said it was only temporary, just until we stabilized the business. But then it went on and I didn't know how to stop it. The officers exchanged glances. Amanda had just confessed to child abuse and fraud in front of multiple witnesses. Eleanor, ever conscious of appearances, attempted damage control. This is all a terrible misunderstanding. We only wanted what was best for Lily, by drugging her into submission and stealing her inheritance. I couldn't help interjecting. The next few hours passed in a blur. Lily was taken to the hospital for evaluation, accompanied by the CPS worker and, at my insistence, myself. Michael came with us, shell-shocked, but determined to make things right. Robert and Amanda were taken to the police station for questioning, while Eleanor and James were instructed not to leave town as the investigation proceeded. The family's carefully constructed facade had crumbled in a single night. At the hospital, doctors confirmed what we already knew. Lily was physically and neurologically normal for her age, though some were delayed in certain areas due to isolation and medication. There were no signs of any congenital disorder or disability. As Lily underwent various tests, Michael and I sat in the waiting room, the weight of the night's revelations hanging between us. "I had no idea," he said finally, his voice hollow. "I swear, Jess. I didn't know what they were doing." "You didn't want to know," I corrected gently. "There were signs, Michael. You chose not to see them." He nodded, accepting the truth of my words. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now," I said, "we make sure Lily is safe and gets justice. Everything else is secondary." Michael reached for my hand, and after a moment's hesitation, I let him take it. We had a long road ahead of us, but at least we were finally on the same side. Later that night, as Lily slept in her hospital bed, monitored by nurses who knew the truth, Lauren updated us on the legal situation. Amanda's confession complicates things for Robert. He's already trying to claim she acted alone, but the evidence suggests otherwise. They're both facing serious charges: child abuse, fraud, financial exploitation of a minor. Eleanor and James might be implicated as well, depending on how much they knew. "And Lily?" I asked. The only question that really mattered. The court will appoint a guardian ad litem to represent her interests. Given the circumstances, they'll want to place her with family, but obviously not with Amanda or the elder Montgomerys. Michael and I exchanged glances. "We could take her," he said quietly, "if she wants that." It wasn't a simple solution. Michael was still processing his family's betrayal, and our marriage had been dealt a serious blow by his initial reaction. But it was a start, a commitment to putting Lily's needs first. "One step at a time," Lauren advised. "The important thing is that she's safe now." "You did that, Jessica. You saved her." As I looked through the doorway at the sleeping child who had shown such incredible courage, I felt a mixture of relief and resolve. The confrontation had been won, but the battle for Lily's future was just beginning. 3 months. That's all it took for the Montgomery empire to spectacularly crumble. I sat in a sunlit courtroom, watching as the judge finalized our temporary guardianship of Lily. The last quarter year had been a whirlwind of legal proceedings, therapy appointments, and adjustments to our new family structure. Robert and Amanda had both been charged with multiple felonies, including child abuse, fraud, and financial exploitation. Robert's attempt to buy his way out of trouble had backfired when he tried to bribe a detective, adding witness tampering to his growing list of charges. Amanda, continuing her strategy of self-preservation, had agreed to testify against her father in exchange for a plea deal. She still faced significant jail time, but less than she might have otherwise. In her more lucid moments, she expressed remorse for her treatment of Lily, though it was difficult to determine whether her regret was genuine or calculated. Eleanor had avoided criminal charges due to insufficient evidence of direct involvement, but she had been named in civil suits regarding the mismanagement of Lily's trust. Her reputation in high society, the thing she valued above all else, was in tatters. The charitable organizations she had once chaired quietly asked her to resign. James had managed to distance himself legally from the worst of the scandal, claiming ignorance of the full extent of the scheme, but his career had suffered nonetheless, with his law firm placing him on indefinite leave pending the outcome of Bar Association inquiries. As for Michael and me, we had embarked on intensive marriage counseling. His failure to believe me initially had created a rift that wouldn't heal overnight. But his unwavering support of Lily since the truth emerged had given us a foundation to rebuild upon. He had cut financial ties with his family and was starting his own consulting business, determined to make his own way without the Montgomery fortune or connections. The most remarkable transformation, however, had been Lily's. Free from medication and fear, she had blossomed like a flower finally given sunlight and water. Her physical strength had returned quickly, and though she had educational gaps to fill, her intelligence and curiosity made her a quick study. The court had appointed a respected financial manager as the new trustee for Lily's inheritance, with strict oversight provisions. The trust would provide for her education and care while protecting the principal until she came of age. The existence of the larger inheritance waiting at 25 had been confirmed, securing her long-term future. Therapy was helping Lily process her years of trauma, though the road to full emotional recovery would be long. Some nights she still woke with nightmares, calling out in fear that her mother or grandfather was coming to punish her for speaking. On those nights, I would sit with her, reassuring her that she was safe, that no one would hurt her again. We had enrolled her in school, a small private academy with experience handling children with unusual backgrounds. After initial adjustment difficulties, she had begun to make friends and participate in normal childhood activities. Her first sleepover had been a milestone celebrated with ice cream and a movie marathon. As the judge signed the final guardianship papers, Lily squeezed my hand, her face shining with hope. "It's official now," she whispered. "It's official," I confirmed, my voice thick with emotion. "You're staying with us." Outside the courtroom, Lauren met us with a smile. "Congratulations. The hard part is over." "Is it ever really over?" I asked quietly, thinking of the years of healing still ahead. "The worst is," she assured me. "You gave her a future, Jess. Not many people would have had the courage to do what you did." Inspired by our experience, Lauren and I had established a foundation to help identify and support other children in similar situations, victims of medical child abuse and financial exploitation. It was in its infancy, but we had already connected with families across the country whose stories echoed Lily's in disturbing ways. That evening, we celebrated with a small party at our new home, a modest house we had purchased in a family-friendly neighborhood, far from the Montgomery mansion with its painful memories. Michael grilled burgers while Lily played in the backyard with two friends from school. Their laughter was a healing balm after so much silence and pain. As I watched her run and jump, her face alight with joy, I thought about how close she had come to losing her childhood entirely. How easily her story could have had a different ending if she hadn't found the courage to trust me that night in the kitchen. The next morning was another milestone, Lily's first day at my school. I had returned to teaching, and though we had initially considered different schools to give her independence, Lily had insisted she wanted to be where I was. "Ready for your first day?" I asked as I helped her adjust her backpack. She nodded, nervous but excited. "Do you think the other kids will like me?" "They'll love you," I assured her. "Just be yourself." As we walked through the school doors together, Lily's hand in mine, I reflected on the extraordinary journey that had brought us here. From reluctant caregiver to fierce advocate, from isolated victim to thriving child, we had both been transformed by the truth and the courage to stand by it. That night, after Lily had gone to bed, exhausted but happy after her successful first day, Michael and I sat on the porch swing, talking quietly about the future. "She asked me today if she could call us Mom and Dad," Michael said, his voice thick with emotion. "What did you tell her?" I whispered. "That she could call us whatever makes her comfortable. That family isn't always about blood." I rested my head on his shoulder, feeling a sense of peace that had been absent for months. "We're going to be okay, aren't we? All of us." "Better than okay," he promised. "We're going to be the family she deserves." The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be more court dates, therapy sessions, and inevitable challenges as Lily continued to process her trauma. But watching her grow stronger each day, witnessing her reclaim the childhood that had been stolen from her, made every difficulty worthwhile. This whole insane journey taught me something profound. Real courage isn't about fighting monsters, it's about giving a voice to those who've been silenced. It's about risking everything you have for someone who has nothing. And the reward? Knowing you helped rewrite a tragedy into a triumph. So, I have to ask you, what would you have done in my situation? Would you have dared to stand up to a powerful family for a child you barely knew? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I truly want to hear them. And if Lily's story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video. Your support helps us amplify the quietest voices. Thank you for listening.